Okay. Hi, everyone. It's 8 o'clock. I'm excited. We're going to talk about building relationships. And that's like one of the biggest things that Veronica and I have talked about over the last couple of days. She went with me to brunch with a girl from Bumble, and she just was so blown away with like how natural it was. And so I decided that I was going to do that for my call. Originally, I was going to do micro anxieties, which is Ashley's favorite. So, but this time I'm actually going to do a real thing and talk to you guys about that. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. And I want it to be more or less like an awareness and relationship call. So this is going to be like you kind of being aware of what you're doing with your time, and then also how you're having conversations with people. So we're going to talk about it related to business and personal life. So just so you're clear. So the first thing I want to ask is when you're like with somebody, and it could be professional or personal, and they're half there, like they're half aware. They're either on their phone, they're looking around, they're fidgeting with something while you're talking. Doesn't that annoy the crap out of you? Like, I mean, it has to annoy you. I mean, I hate it when anybody does it. Like, obviously when it happens to me at the office, it's because I'm trying to multitask. But really what I should be doing is putting my shit down and listening to what they have to say so I don't miss anything. What if it's via text and you haven't heard from that person in days? Doesn't that annoy you? Like, you're probably like, what the heck, are you alive? Like, are you going to respond? So I'm going to go over 3 big ways you can learn to not be that person, and also give yourself some confidence going into new conversations. So the first thing, make it all about them. It's something that you hear all the time. It's something that you hear in the business, outside of the business. Make it all about them. So when you're initiating a conversation, make it about the other person. Whether it's in person or via text, you want to not only act like you're courting them for a dating life, but also see their potential. I mean, like in our business, we have to know, how we're going to mesh with them. And just because we mesh with them doesn't mean they'll join the business. Just because we don't mesh with them doesn't mean they won't join the business. You know what I mean? You're not going to keep dating someone who is constantly talking about themselves, right? So this is targeted towards you as the market partner when you're talking to somebody. Don't word vomit. I was guilty of that going into it, and now I kind of let the other person talk. It's hard when you hear somebody talking about themselves and you never get a word in. So you want to put the spotlight on them. Compliment them, ask them questions that require answers, be into what they're talking about, even if it doesn't like interest you. Just ask them about it. Like if you don't watch golf, but they're talking about the last time they went to the Masters, ask about it. Ask about like what their experience was like, how they enjoyed it, because you're wanting to get to know these people. Find something common with them so that you can be in the moment with them. If you can't seem to find anything normal to discuss, they may not vibe with you, and that's okay. You and everybody else are really good with small talk, so try to figure out a way to end the conversation, and then eventually you end the relationship because you just don't have anything in common. It happens all the time on Bumble. It always happens to me and friends, and then we reconnect later on down the road. So number 1, make it all about them. Ask them all the questions. Number 2, turn off the distractions. Whether it's with the potential or your team or your sideline, turn off the distractions. Give them your undivided attention. I'll give you a few examples. Don't you hate it when your partner's on their phone, when you're trying to discuss rearranging the house, wedding planning, and they're just on the couch nodding and inserting correct inflection or tone to your question so that you think that they're listening? Like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Like one of those things. And for a fact they're not listening. Like they're matching your tone with their tone so that they can get out of the conversation and make you feel like you're actually important to them. And you are. It's not saying that you aren't, but they're obviously distracted. So turning that off is really super important. I'm trying to figure out how to work my mouse. It's new. Many of us forget things about our people because of the overstimulation of multitasking. Building relationships is not the time to be multitasking. As tempting as it is to respond to that text, I promise it will still be there after you're done with your call or lunch or brunch or whatever you're doing with your person. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to give, and I'm really good with communication. So I think that that's really important too, is you have to communicate with your people and say, hey, I'm going to be unavailable from this time to this time. If you're going to be unavailable, be unavailable. Because the problem is that you're setting up yourself for failure because you're not setting up boundaries. I'm a big boundaries person. So if you set up those boundaries, then people will learn to respect your time and learn to value your time, right? So if, let's say, for instance, I'm going to get on a call with Veronica. When I'm on the call with her, I'm not going to be having like out and about and like driving. Well, driving is one thing, but like out at the grocery store or in the car, you know, on FaceTime, trying to have a conversation with her. No, I want to give her my undivided attention because she has something awesome to share with me. So I'm going to figure out how to make myself 100% aware of what she's saying and taking it all in and asking questions, because that's how you learn, is if you ask questions after somebody says something. So number 2, turn off the distractions. Number 3, be authentic. Be you. Don't embellish anything, because I promise if your relationship goes beyond the text or coffee date, the person will find out you're not being authentic with them. Let's see, I'll mute some people. Sorry, guys. If you've been able to pay off a credit card, I'm talking from business perspective. If you've been able to pay off a credit card, then say that. But if you're only making like enough to pay a bill for the month, do it. Like just say, hey, you know what? I was able to pay my credit card bill this month. Don't say I paid off a credit card if you didn't do it. Because eventually down the line, they're going to realize that you weren't telling the truth. Don't get in the habit of copying what others have accomplished. Brag about others' accomplishments, but don't make them your own. I've been seeing that a lot, not on our team, but on other people's Instagram stories and stuff, saying like, oh my gosh, we did this, we did that. But actually, that girl didn't do anything. It was her upline did it and helped her get there and helped her to be where she wanted to be, but she didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how else to describe that one. But be proud of who you are. Be proud of what you built. Be proud of what built you. And be proud of your failures. Be proud of your successes. There's a difference between sharing your story and bragging. It's all in the authenticity of your voice and tone. So you want to make sure that you keep your audience by being authentic, because people will call you out and they will, what will happen is it will make you backtrack. So you got to build that relationship by being authentic. If you can handle 30 conversations at once, then go for it. I can't do that, but more power to you if you can. If you can handle 5 conversations at a time, then do it. But don't lose sight of yourself going into these conversations. Voice memos are going to be your best friend if you're feeling rushed. And that's something that we all talk about. Voice memos are so much better to listen to a minute long rather than reading like a novel that takes up your entire screen. You're not going to read all of that. I hate to say it, I'm sorry. Like when they're this long, I'm looking for the Cliff's Notes. Frankly, because I've got a lot of different things going on at once. So I need to be able to focus on something. If it's really important, I will go back and read it, because if I see everybody replying to stuff, I'm like, okay, well, clearly I need to reread that. So I'll go back. If you are getting to that point where you're feeling rushed, stop yourself, take a deep breath, tell yourself, hey, I need to message these 5 people back real quick before I go to yoga or before I go to bed or before I do this. If you need me time, take it. Like don't not take it, because what it's going to end up doing is it's going to hinder your progress later on down the road. But come back stronger and ready to play the game. If you aren't building relationships with your potentials, someone else is. Yes, it's a numbers game, but you need to be able to give them your undivided attention and the truest version of you. People aren't attracted to big teams. They're attracted to you. Look at everybody that's on our team. Like I think half of us were attracted to the business, but we sought out our leaders because of how they portrayed themselves on Instagram, how they portray themselves in real life. So that's what I'm saying. Like people are going to be attracted to you. Also, don't forget to make time for your partner. If you're watching TV or spending time with them, your phone should not be anywhere within reach. That's going to show you as a good example to others, saying like, hey, you know what? I can do the business. I can have a social life. I can do this all at once. Some people are attracted to the whole, like, you know, sitting on the couch, watching TV and texting or whatever, and your partner's right next to you. Cool. If your partner's cool with that, awesome. But if your partner's trying to talk to you while you're on the phone and you're watching TV, something's not going to click. So you have to build your relationships at home, build your relationships on your phone, and build your relationships in person. Like you have to be aware. And just like anybody else, your partner deserves your time just as much as your team or your potential. So just don't forget that. So it's a really quick call. I just wanted to touch base on that because I think it's really super important that we just keep building relationships as authentically as possible. And if you are distracted or you're not being yourself or you're not asking them questions, it's not going to do you any favors at all. I think that's really super important. So does anybody have any questions? You can either unmute yourself or drop something in chat about that. I'm here for it either way. Nobody's got any questions? Wow, that's a first.
That was so good.
Oh, thanks.
I'm guilty of a lot of the things that you talked about.
Oh, 100%. I am too. But I feel like when I get called out by my partner and he says, hey, you're always on your phone. Yeah, I'm normally working, but that's kind of like my sign of like, you know what? I'm going to go put this thing face down on the other side of the room and I'm going to focus on him. And it's the same thing when you're talking to somebody on a text. Like if you've got several different things going on, turn your back to your computer, do what you need to do via text, and then turn back around. Because what happens is, and it happens to me at work, is my WhatsApp is going off and I've got an agent in my office and then my phone's going off at the same time and it's like squirrel, like, you know, it's like I'm trying to focus, and I do give everybody the attention they need, but at the same time it's not the same effort. Oh yeah, when your kids start saying something, that's a big deal. That's a big deal because they do not have filters at all. So but yeah, that's all I got for y'all. You are welcome. And like I said, if you have any questions, just let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. It's a short night. Enjoy it. Tomorrow's Friday. See y'all.